Hi guys, Dr. B here. So this YouTube video is for chapter 6, chromosomes and cell reproduction. So just to warn you ahead of time, some of these images may be graphic or considered graphic. So just letting you know ahead of time so there won't be any shocks or surprises when you come across it in the YouTube video. So to start off, so every day, I don't know if you guys realize this, but every day an adult human body is producing 2 trillion cells. So per minute, we're making 25 million new cells. So remember, like I said, with when if y'all are supposedly handshaking and all that, when you're not supposed to, what I see are the dead skins. In my head, I see the dead skin cells floating into the air and all the type of stuff and whatever. Like that's what I see. So just kind of keep that in mind. Even like if you're walking around, dead skin cells, microscopic ones, are falling on the ground if you're wearing shorts or maybe in your pants or on your socks, your shoes, every time you're walking around. Just kind of putting that in perspective. So there are two types of cell division based on the type of cell. So there's prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Remember, this is bacteria, for example, and this is animal cells and plant cells. So in prokaryotic cell reproduction, there is binary fission. So bi meaning two. So a single parent passes exact copies of all its DNA to its offspring. So there are two stages. DNA is copied, and then the cell divides by adding a new cell membrane, and that's it. Okay, so trying to find a way to make it somewhat relevant, like who cares about binary fission in prokaryotic cells? Well, one of the organisms that undergoes binary fission is something called E. coli O157H7. So this is a strand of E. coli. E. coli, like we probably discussed in class, E. coli is a bacterium, I guess, found in your gut. So especially in your large intestine. Unfortunately, this one is found in raw contaminated beef. So I'm not saying this is contaminated, but it's definitely raw beef. Um, Unfortunately, sometimes it can cause some problems. Sometimes no problems at all, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and unfortunately, however, it's known to cause acute hemorrhagic diarrhea. So that means sudden onset bleeding diarrhea. Another is acute kidney failure, especially in kids. So if you look at this image over here, you notice that this is a sample of the E. coli, this particular one. And if you notice, the image is in black and white and it's highly detailed, really magnified. So this was done on an electron microscope. Now you can kind of see how a sample looks on an electron microscope, kind of like the one you saw in one of the other chapters. So just kind of keep this in mind. This is just for your own benefit as well. Well, I want you to know it, but it's also for your own benefit. So you try not to eat raw, don't make your burgers too rare. Maybe medium rare, medium well, maybe, but definitely don't eat raw burgers. So just really quick, what happens is that the cows, actually, no, that we'll talk about that when we get into one of our documentaries. So forget it. So eukaryotic cell reproduction. So there are a couple of definitions we should be aware of. First one is chromosome, which is the DNA and the proteins associated with it. A chromatid, which is two exact copies of DNA that make up a chromosome, and a centromere, and this is the point at which two chromosomes are attached. So in terms of chromosomes, there's a set number, if you will. So there are a total of 46 chromosomes, and but it's two sets of 23 chromosomes. So each pair consists of two homologous chromosomes, meaning they're similar in size, shape, and the genetic content. One set comes from the mother, and the other comes from the father. So in fertilization, you have a gamete and another gamete forming a zygote. So if you notice, this N here So N plus N equals 2N. So in fertilization, you have one gamete cell. So if this is from a father, this is the sperm cell. And this is from the mother, this is the egg. Fertilization occurs, and you have a zygote in the end. So more terms to be aware of: diploid versus haploid. So somatic cells contain two sets of chromosomes, and it's diploid. So diploid, 2. Haploid, like half, that's what it sounds like, half. These are cells that contain one set of chromosomes, and these are called gametes. So this is kind of just reiterating what I said before. So you have two gametes that fuse, that get fertilized, and technically the sperm fertilizes the egg, and then you end up with the zygote in the end. So the two haploids, like we said before, make a diploid. It's kind of like a face. So two types of chromosomes. There are the sex chromosomes and autosomes. Not AutoZone, the store, but autosomes. So the sex chromosome is one of the 23 pairs of chromosomes that help determine the sex of an individual. In humans, it's XX and XY for the most part. There are a few genetic mutations we're going to talk about later. In grasshoppers and in moths and butterflies, you have a different combination. Autosomes are chromosomes that are not directly involved in determining the sex of an individual. So basically, it's the other 22 pairs. As you can see here, you kind of see this is somebody's, don't know whose it is, somebody's karyotype. It is a picture taken through a microscope, and it's used to examine an individual's chromosome. So what happens is that they take somebody's DNA, usually from a white blood cell, and then they're able to take out the chromosomes, they magnify it, probably an electron microscope, and what they do is they kind of like organize them to where they're pairing off. And as you can see, these are homologous, meaning they have the similar shape, similar form. If you notice, if you look at this, if you count this, there's 24 pairs, but here is the XX or XY. This is the sex chromosome, and the rest are the autosomes. However, there are a few genetic mutations, chromosomal disorders, that we should be aware of. These next three, including this one, are all trisomies. Trisomy meaning 3. So you're going to see it later on in the next slide. So Down syndrome. It's not Down syndrome. So trisomy 21. So it's the most common chromosomal disorder and cause of mental retardation. There are a few symptoms that you should be able to recognize, or you should recognize. A flat facial profile, mental retardation, simian creases in hands, so that's right there. A protruding tongue, you can see flattened nose and face, slanting eyes, a widely separated first and second toe, increased skin creases. So one of the risk factors for having a baby with Down syndrome is actually an advanced maternal age. So the mom being older, there's more of a chance for a trisomy 21 to occur. It's associated with two conditions. The first is a type of cancer, and it's called ALL, or acute lymphocytic leukemia, and early onset Alzheimer's disease. So as you can see in this karyotype, hope I spelled it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah. There's a trisomy 21, and this is genetically female. You have two X chromosomes.